another fightless weekend, but nonetheless, we still made it through. We still had a great time, and we are here this week back at you with UFC Talk 51. Hope all of you had a fantastic Independence Day. And just real quick, Blake, flash your fingers. Let's see. Do we got all 10? Perfect 10s all around the board. Hell yeah. So I'm glad that none of us lost some fingers. Makes it easier to type, with all 10. Hopefully none of you guys out there lost any digits as well and just had a fantastic time. And Independence Day, the 4th of July, kind of helped the weekend go by a little quicker, even though we didn't have anything to look forward to on Saturday night. But Blake, how are you feeling? Did you have a good time this weekend? Good time enjoying some stuff?
Yeah. Had a little vacation with some friends, so that was nice, very enjoyable.
Oh, yeah.
But ready to get in the swing of things for this week. It's a new fight week for 264, so can't wait for that to pop off.
Huge fight week. I am super pumped for this one, as I'm sure all of you are. But we're going to bring you today is actually, it's been 6 months, and so let's take a look at our mid-year awards going off as Submission of the Year, Knockout of the Year, Surprise of the Year, Fight of the Year, and of course, Fighter of the Year so far. And then also we're going through our bold predictions for the rest of the year. Then got a couple things to look at, maybe Jorge Masvidal's next steps in his career, and we're deeming the Suga Sean Sweepstakes and how that all played out. And of course, we're going to take a look at UFC 264 with none other than the most important thing of any card, Blake's Bangers. And we're going to give you our predictions for the main event. But just before we get into everything, just want to give a quick thank you to our sponsor, Thrive Fantasy, for all your sports prop betting needs. You can go on over to thrivefantasy.com or go to download the app in the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store and get started on your sports prop betting today. It's super easy, super simple, and it's a really fun way to make some money. And if you use promo code 4th and Long today, you can get matched dollar per dollar on deposits of $20 all the way up to $50, so you can just double your money with a simple promo code. Go on there, you're supporting the show when you do that, and you're also getting yourself some money. And of course, another fantastic way to help support the show and to eventually work towards getting Blake his paycheck, like the one he's always been mentioning. See, he needs that. You can go on over to patreon.com/4thalong, and for just $1 a month, you can get started today, become a donor of the show, and get a bunch of goodies added to that. So, like I say, just going over to patreon.com/4thalong to go get a look at that today. But Blake, let's start with a submission of the year. And to start things off, let's send it to you. What do you have? Who is going to take home this coveted mid-year award?
For me, it was Andre Muniz, probably jacked up that name, but it was the guy that basically broke Jacare Souza's arm. Long story short, I thought that was, in my opinion, probably the most impressive in the submission that holds the most weight so far this year, just because, Souza's a very decorated jiu-jitsu player back in, where he's from, and he's just kind of a legendary name. So for a guy to go out there and say he's going to dominate Jacare and break his arm in what he's considered to be best in, the aspect of fighting he's considered to be best in, I just thought that was really impressive. So I went with, again, Andre Muniz.
Definitely a bold thing saying you're going to go out there and dominate that guy on the ground and go out and do it. And it's still nonetheless, he might butcher his name, but he butchered Jacare's arm. So fantastic choice there. That was definitely one of the most, it was easily the most brutal submission that we've seen this year. But I went for something where it's not necessarily a fantastic submission, although it was really impressive to get over a guy that's so good on the ground like Deiveson Figueiredo. But for Brandon Moreno to be able, I'm giving him submission of the year just because of what that submission, pretty much what it meant. It was this huge thing. He dominated Deiveson from the beginning of the fight. He gets his back almost easily, and then he chokes him out to kind of cap off this amazing comeback story, this underdog story. Getting cut for the promotion, able to work his way back up. He gets in draw, and then he gets the belt itself. So I have to go with that one. And the moment was huge. But with that, and then going along with every award that we give, we're going to be posting this on our socials, which you can find us on Twitter at Fourth Long Radio or Instagram at Fourth Long Radio. So join in and let us know what you guys have for this. Would love to see your thoughts and who your winners for these awards might be. But we're now going to move on into the knockout of the year, and I think there's really only two choices here that you could choose from. So Blake, which of the two did you choose?
I went with Yuri Prochazka versus Dom Reyes.
Yep.
Just because out of pure brutality and violence, and I don't know, man. It's pretty hard to land a spinning elbow knockout as brutal and as important of a spot as it was.
Mm-hmm.
You know, all the bright lights on. Next, if whoever wins this fight gets the title shot. So for him to execute it to that level, that high of a level, I thought he probably deserves the nod so far.
You think he gets that, or would he have to fight a guy like Ratchik, kind of like what Jan was saying in a little more recent press conference? Do you think that's a fight to make for like a number one contender spot?
I mean, I guess they could, but I think it's up to the UFC at this point. If they want him to fight that fight,
mm-hmm.
then they'll make it. But if they don't care and they'd rather him, sit out and wait for the winner of the Glover Jan fight,
mm-hmm.
then they'll probably do that. Because I mean, Yuri looks like the next big thing.
Yeah, he does. And yeah, no, fantastic knockout. One of only 4 spinning back elbow knockouts in UFC history. So that's obviously gonna help add to his case. But for me, I had to go with the bantamweights in this one, and that was Corey Sandhagen's flying knee knockout onto Frankie Edgar. And this is one of the things where it was nice that almost everyone clowns him, and of course we just passed July 6th, so 2-year anniversary of a guy like Ben Askren getting flying kneed and knocked out. It was something pretty much just as real as that, and I mean everyone clowned on Ben Askren. Thank God no one's clowning on Frankie Edgar, because obviously that man does not deserve any hate whatsoever. He is a icon and one of the most respectable people. But for Corey Sandhagen to get choked out super quick against Aljo in their fight last year, and for him to come back in this sort of manner and to put him right back in the title picture, and now he has that fight against TJ Dillashaw coming up soon in a really, really stacked July of fights. This month is going to be fantastic. But I had to give it to him, and it's just one of those knockouts where it really just came out of nowhere,
Yeah, he's had about 2 of those in his past 2 fights, so credit to him.
Mm-hmm. Really good stuff there. Now, one of the other next category we're going to roll into is the surprise of the year. So this really encompasses, it's more of a broad category that we're going with, but it's just one of the things where, personally, what were you surprised most about in the MMA landscape, maybe combat sports in general, and what's kind of puzzled you the most so far this year?
For me, it's pretty easy. I think it's Hamzat not fighting anybody. It's kind of a joke, but it also is kind of serious at the same time. Because I mean, we saw Hamzat. He fought 3 times in 60-something days.
Yeah,
I think
2 fights in 8 days.
Yeah, so I thought he was going to be one of those guys that it really almost like a Kevin Holland, but maybe higher level. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
But now he hasn't fought, and it almost seems like a year. It's coming up on a year, it seems like. But who knows? Maybe he'll get a fight signed soon. Hope he doesn't keep ducking big names like Luke Rockhold, if that's true.
You believe that? You believe Luke?
I don't know, man. I don't know why he would lie about that.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like Hamzat would come out and clear the air if it was untrue. But
it's been pretty quiet.
We'll see. That's probably my biggest surprise, because it was sounding like he was going to take the UFC over by storm last year, and now it's kind of radio silence.
It's a good point. We're looking at the guy that looked like he could be champion in multiple divisions, and he had 3 fights in the UFC. So it's almost disappointing, because this was one hell of a hype train that's really died down, and hopefully we get to see him soon, because he brought the excitement. But also, if you're not going to find the UFC, people move on pretty quick, right?
Yeah.
Fans really don't care. They just want the next thing. And I guess, like you said, Blake, maybe the next thing's Yuri Prochazka. But for me, I think the things that surprised me the most is Kamar Usman's newfound dominance, because ever since he made the switch to train with Trevor Whitman, the best coach in MMA, also the UFC, go use his gloves, please. Give him the money and just make it good. We'll stop with eye pokes. But obviously, this guy's been a fantastic wrestler for his whole career. He's been dominant on the ground. But just the difference in one fight, the Kamar Usman we saw stand-up wise against Colby Covington was nothing compared to the Kamar Usman we saw stand-up wise against Gilbert Burns earlier this year in February. He looked like a brand new fighter on the feet, and then he goes and gets another huge knockout against Jorge Masvidal in the rematch a couple months ago. So I was not expecting Kamar Usman to ever have this striking ability that he does. He's one of the best strikers in that division already, and he's the most dominant wrestler. So that's a scary matchup to have, right? Really hard to overcome that.
He can hurt you anywhere, so definitely a tough puzzle to figure out.
Mm-hmm. And hopefully we get the... What do you think? So do you think that Colby Covington's going to be able to get the media rematch with him? But it's so annoying that they're taking so long to announce it.
I think it kind of depends on Stephen Thompson's performance this weekend. If he can take out Gilbert Burns in an impressive fashion, he might sneak in there and take that title shot. But if it's a boring fight or maybe Thompson gets smoked, I think they're going to go the Colby route.
Mm-hmm. That's fair. Yeah, I mean, you could just wait a week, less than a week now, and kind of see what to go for. I'm hoping Stephen Thompson gets something nice, because that's the only guy at the top of that division that Kamar Usman hasn't fought yet, let alone beat. So it'd be nice to see a fresh fight before a rematch, but a lot of pride in UFC 264. We'll get there soon, though. Now, here's one of the best categories. We get down to the two really most important ones, are the ones people are look forward to the most. That's Fight of the Year and Fighter of the Year. So for Fight of the Year, who takes that for you? Which one had you on the edge of your seat the most?
Shane Burgos versus Edson Barboza.
Fantastic.
Easily. I think that was just a, I don't know, man, just a crazy, intense, non-stop, everyone just swinging for the fences type, fight. And so I have to go with that one.
That fight is most impressive to me because I have no idea how it went as long as it did.
Yeah, they were both cracking each other. And then that delayed knockout with Shane Burgos, that made it super weird at the end. But, yeah, I mean, credit to Shane. I mean, that's 2 years in a row. I think he's been my pick.
With Josh Emmett last year and Shane Burgos, huh?
Yeah, but, I mean, it's still only midseason, so we'll see what happens the rest of the year.
It's going to be hard to beat that, though. It's going to be really hard. For me, it didn't go well. These fights actually went about the same time. For me, my fight of the year was Michael Chandler and Charles Oliveira at UFC 262. Just because, I swear, this was one of the craziest things between both guys getting rocked. I mean, it looked like Michael Chandler was about to get the win. Then mixed out of the round, a little controversy, or not controversy, but it was really close to the end of the round too. Then he gets Oliveira again, but then Oliveira comes out and stretches him at the second. And so this is really just a super exciting fight. They really were not holding back, and it was just 110% speed this entire stretch of it. And it was nice because, I mean, either of these fights really went the distance, but they didn't really need to in order to excite. And also, of course, the fact that Charles Oliveira was able to get his belt after waiting so long. I think he has the most amount of fights before winning a championship in UFC history. So obviously that was a fantastic thing to see. I mean, and then of course, fighter of the year. There's a few names I think you could put up here, whether it be for the women's or the men's. A couple of guys from maybe these knockout performances, and maybe guys that have put together a couple wins that have skyrocketed up the rankings. But for me, there's one person that stands out and takes the cake for our female fighter of the year, and that is the woman that got her belt back, won it for the second time, and in really, really fantastic fashion with a highlight level knockout that really could be up there for knockout of the year. And Come on, man. Thug Rose. Let's give it to Thug Rose because she deserves a spot, hands down.
Yeah, that's actually who I picked as well for female. I think it's hard to pick anyone else just in this span of 6 months,
Guess you
or
can
I
go
guess
Nunes,
7 months
but
now.
yeah, I feel like you could give
Just
Nunes an award for anything.
Yeah, I mean she's been dominant. Same with Valentina, that she's been dominant. But Thug Rose, the way that she, I feel like captured the attention and just like you said, the way she executed that moment, it was just, I think, just one level above the rest.
Quite frankly, jaw dropping with that one because I know both of us, man. I wish I got my reaction on camera because I jumped out of my seat and just started yelling Thug Rose. Same for you.
Yeah, no, she definitely had me screaming that night.
Yeah, a lot of people probably thought I was crazy, but UFC
They
be
just don't
like that
understand.
sometimes, right?
They don't understand.
A bunch of filthy casuals. I'm just playing. Would love to introduce more people in the sport. If you get introduced with a fight like that, yeah, you're gonna be hooked to the sport instantly. But that was just such a cool moment for her. But let's get your male fighter of the year. Obviously, someone that made a huge impact on the career.
For me, I went Brandon Moreno.
Mm.
Just the fact that he's the first Mexican champion in UFC history, I thought that was huge, and the fact that he beat Davison Figueiredo twice and in such a emphatic fashion both times. Well, I mean, I guess I shouldn't say twice, but in my opinion, it
December
was
is
twice.
getting close. It's late December.
But yeah, just the fact that he closed the door on that. Well, I mean, maybe it's still open a little bit, but it's essentially closed now, and he's the undisputed champion, and he gets to have his title reign now. I'm going to give it to him.
Still, that Lego doesn't want to give him a sponsorship, man. I think that might be the biggest tragedy of 2021 so far.
Yeah, that's a little strange.
Right?
They're missing out on that.
Give our boy some Legos, man. Maybe the Funko Pops. I don't know.
Maybe.
Hey, I don't know if they have yet, so I would hope someone correct me wrong. I haven't seen a Brendan Moreno Funko Pop yet. If not, they need to. Why haven't they made that? They should have made that yesterday.
It's probably in production right now.
Shoot, I hope so. That make a lot of money for them. I wonder if UFC would be able to get would UFC take a portion of that? I don't know. Guess it depends on the contract, and I am no lawyer or agent, so I'm not sure on that one. But for my fighter of the year, it's going to be the guy that took my surprise of the year, and that's Kamar Usman. 2 title defenses, 2 giant knockouts, and 2 huge statements, and he's making the claim that he's already arguably the greatest welterweight of all time. He's still on this crazy fight run, and it just doesn't look like anyone could beat him. So I have to go with him just because, man, he just looks so damn good. And there's a couple other male names that you could put up there. Honestly, I would like to throw honorable mention to Beneil Dariush for his skyrocket up the rankings, because he's really made a statement with, most recently just murdering Tony Ferguson, quite frankly. Unfortunately, to all you Tony Ferg fans, that's not something we want to see or hear, but he handled them pretty well. And so we're going to see where we go from there. Also, he had that fantastic fight against Diego Ferreira earlier this year. So I want to give a shout out to him because he might be getting overlooked by some people. Just want to make sure that people are recognizing him. And he got his Tesla, okay? So if you're able to get a Tesla like that, you got to give some props to the man. But that is our award winners for this year. Like I said, let us know what you guys think about that. Did we miss out on anyone? Or is there someone that you would have preferred to win this? And let us know just all your thoughts in the comments. Or let us know on the socials like I shouted out. Or, best of all, you can go on over to Apple Podcasts, leave a 5-star review with your award winners. But Blake, before we get into our headlines of the UFC 264 preview, give me your bold prediction for the rest of 2021.
I think my bold prediction is Nick Diaz makes his return this year to the UFC.
You have a certain timeline or maybe a certain fighter you'd like to see him go up against first?
I think it's still a little too hazy and murky of waters for me to guess on an opponent.
Mm-hmm.
But for sure, timeline, I would say if I had to guess, I would say October,
Mm,
November timeframe.
that'd be good. Then do you see what did you think about the kind of rumors that he might be returning to fighting, but not necessarily MMA?
I think he's still under contract with UFC, right?
I think so.
So that would
So
be tough
yeah,
to call on that one too. I don't know.
might be kind of lame too. I don't know if I like him in the boxing ring. There's too many rules.
Yeah, I'd rather just see him fight MMA. Let's see how he does.
Come on, you can't slap someone with boxing gloves on.
Yeah, not really. No, you can't.
That looks stupid as hell. But we need to stop and slap on that one. For me, it's the man that we're actually going to be predicting in the main event for UFC 264, and that is that not only will Dustin Poirier, obviously we're going to get our predictions for UFC 264 at the end, but Dustin Poirier is going to be lightweight champion of the world by the end of this year. And it's weird because he definitely has the claim. He might not have the belt, but he could definitely claim that he's the best lightweight in the world right now, even though like he doesn't have the belt to back up, like I said. But and also, do you see his thing? How he was like a title fight would have only made him about a third of the money compared to this trilogy fight.
Yeah, that's crazy.
This is
But
surprising though.
I think it all has to do with the pay-per-view points.
Mm.
So
I'm not surprised though by that. Are you?
no, not at all. I mean, one matchup is McGregor and another matchup is Charles Oliveira. It's just easy math to know that the people that are going to be tuning in for those two fights are going to be vastly different.
Yeah, it's just insane because I mean, Dustin Poirier and Charles Oliveira is a really good fight, and a lot of like MMA fans are gonna be excited about that. But you always gotta think about Connor. He pulls in the non-MMA fans.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I had this question asked to us on Twitter, and I want to see what you think about this. And they asked, does Conor McGregor still carry a considerable amount of hype around him?
I think so. Absolutely.
Where do you think it lies, though? Has it decreased a lot recently, or is it? Because I don't think the hype is still. Well, the hype is obviously still there. He still has a lot of people. I mean, we saw that video of him stepping out in front of that crowd earlier this week. But also, how much, if any, has it died down over the last few years?
I think the shine may have lost a little bit
Mm-hmm.
of its just a little bit of shine has maybe been lost, I would
Mm.
say. But he's still a star.
Yeah.
I think he has the chance to be just as big, if not bigger, than he was before if he wins this fight. It's all just based on performances now because he's had a couple, tough losses now. Started with the Nate Diaz and then obviously the Floyd, Habib, and then Dustin. I mean, those are four kind of chinks in his armor now.
Mm-hmm.
So he needs to go out there and have a masterclass performance, and then he can kind of build that hype train back up again and fight the Charles Oliveira's, fight the Michael Chandler's, Justin Gaethje's, and cement his legacy. But regardless, he's already been the biggest name in the sport ever.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's brought the most eyes to the sport ever. So that's nothing that anyone's ever going to be able to take away from him until they do. So
Yeah. He's still, I have no doubts that he's the biggest name in combat sports in the world right now. Well, maybe at least in MMA. So, I'm not surprised. The hype is still there, but like you said, it's gone down a little bit. But man, that fight could be huge, depending on the outcome of UFC 264. But let's roll into a couple of headlines before we get to our UFC 264 preview, and that is that recently Jorge Masvidal's camp has come out and said that they're eyeing a fall fight with either Colby Covington or Nate Diaz. So which fight do you think is more likely? And also, which one would you prefer?
I actually saw that he was eyeing a Nick Diaz fight as well.
Nick Diaz, too. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, gotta throw it down there. I wouldn't mind that either.
The fight that I wouldn't mind seeing Jorge get in would be Leon Edwards. That's what I would want to see him fight. I think that's the fight that makes the most sense, and I don't understand why it hasn't happened yet because they literally got into an altercation backstage. So I feel like that just sells itself.
All
The
right.
Nate Diaz fight was cool when it happened,
Mm-hmm.
but we just, I mean, I don't know. They can always run that back, I guess, but just not in New York. Like
Put
bring
that in
them,
Vegas, please.
yeah, bring them somewhere else where they're not going to stop a fight just because someone has a cut.
And that's the problem. Nate Diaz can't fight anywhere. No, he can't fight anyone in New York because he always gets cut the hell up. I would love that. The Nick Diaz one would be really interesting. Almost like the older brother has to come step up for his younger brother and get that and kind of get that win back. But also, do you think there's a reason why at least and he still might be eyeing the fight with him. His camp might be eyeing the fight with Leon Edwards, but it wasn't listed in this report. Do you think what does he just not want that fight?
I don't know. I have absolutely no idea. That's pure speculation. I have zero idea. But it did to me. Does it bother me? And well, maybe not bother me,
Mm-hmm.
but is it weird to me?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Like I would think that you would want to fight a guy that brings some heat because that, like I said, that would be easy press conferences, easy views to bring in because there's going to be some interest, peaked around that.
Yeah, you would think because that could be one of those where it puts him maybe a win away from another title shot, maybe two, but a win over Leon Edwards is going to mean a lot more to the rankings than a win over Nate Diaz or Nick Diaz. A win over Colby Covington would mean a lot, but it's either Colby Covington. I guess kind of like what you said though, that if a fight with Colby Covington might be possible depending on what happens with Usman or with Gilbert Burns and Wonder Boy.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't mind that fight either. Former teammates, you could probably make a good story about that. But speaking of Covington, did you see him finally release that video of Dustin Poirier's bad acts or whatever the hell he was calling it in a sparring session?
Yeah, I think it's kind of a non-story. I didn't really see anything too wrong with it.
I just thought it was weak. Like, I'm a Colby Covington fan, but his antics are almost getting annoying. I prefer if he just went to fight, but he was really hyping this little clip up like Dustin Poirier was just clowning on this guy and beating someone up when it really wasn't that at all. So this almost looks like it really backfired on Covington.
Yeah, just a little bit. I think everyone's kind of getting a little fed up with him.
Yeah, I mean, he just needs to. I think it's funny, but there's a point where sometimes you just need to show up and fight. So hopefully they can get a any fight for him soon because he's really entertaining to watch in the cage, but his antics are only funny when he's fighting or when he has someone to aim it towards or he has something to back it up with. So we'll see about that one. But the last thing I want to talk about is, I mean, obviously something that's very near and dear to your heart. The Suga Show. Suga Sean O'Malley had his opponent, Luis Smolka, pull out of their fight. Reportedly, he was medically unfit due to an infection. Suga Sean said he was probably licking the mats, hoping to get that staph. Uh, but then we had a bunch of fighters come storming in on Twitter and what have you, trying to get this fight with Sugar. Eventually, it goes to Chris Moutinho, who's debuting to the UFC, UFC 264. It looks like he was going to fight Ricky Simone, but then Simone couldn't make weight. He offered to fight 145, but apparently the UFC and Sugar Sean wanted to stay at 135. So, what did you make of this whole situation, and did they come out with the right opponent for Sugar Sean?
I mean, do you have, with what, 10, 11 days notice, how many options do you have? He said he got a list, and the only person that was even close to being ranked was Ricky Simone. And Ricky Simone's name shouldn't even have been on that list because he couldn't make 135. Sean said the whole time he wanted someone at 135, if possible. If not, he would think about 145 depending on it. And obviously that's just a guy that's probably been training with Smolka. Who knows what they had in mind going into that whole thing. Simone's going to be more wrestling oriented. He's going to have 10-pound advantage. So it just didn't make a lot of sense, especially with Sugar already starting his cut. So They wanted to get a name that could make 35. I think it makes complete and total sense. He's not saying he doesn't want to fight Simone in the future or anyone else that did call him out that wasn't on that list. He's just saying, that's the best choice that he could make right now for his career. And I think everyone else would make that same decision. Why not collect a paycheck, get paid the same amount of money for taking out a guy that's less dangerous at the right weight class that's going to, at least put a little bit more hype in your rankings of your weight class rather than 145, which he doesn't fight at.
Mm-hmm.
So, in my opinion, I think Sean and the UFC made as good of a decision as they could have made. I mean, if there were better 135 pounders like that are within the UFC that might have been ranked or were close to the rankings, that would have been cool. But clearly, they just didn't have a lot of options.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point. And I mean, my favorite part about this whole sweepstakes wasn't the whole everyone vying for a fight with Sugar. It was what was going on with you on Twitter in the replies of those tweets. That had me cackling.
A bunch of weirdos on Twitter. This, with the polarizing figures such as Sean, Connor, anyone really like that gets to that level of stardom. Yeah, for sure. Once you get to a certain level of superstardom, like there's just going to be people that hate you because they hate you, and there's going to be people that love you because they love you. So there's just no sense arguing with people like that when they just hate because they hate.
And that's why you should go follow Blake on Twitter so you don't miss out on any of his really fun, entertaining replies. Definitely killed some time, gave me some good laughs on there. Some of the Sugar fans could get, some of the Sugar fans could get weird, but it's the Sugar haters that are the weirdest when it comes to Twitter replies and stuff like that.
Yeah, they get really sensitive.
Those Connor fanboys are really annoying. Because you say one thing wrong about Connor, you get swarmed with a bunch of people calling you an idiot or something like that, or even casual. It's always funny seeing. It's always like there's always going to be a fight on Twitter between Connor fans and Khabib fans, and that's one of the funniest parts to me. I swear, every Connor post I see, someone is almost guaranteed to reply with a picture of Khabib in the sauna room with a bunch of other dudes. Every time. You know the picture I'm talking about?
Yeah, of course.
Every time, I swear, but it's kind of funny. It's kind of funny with that. But do you think this fight obviously, if Chris Moutinho gets a win in this, he's going to look fantastic, but and Suga Sean is heavily the betting favorite in this one. If he gets a win in this fight, no matter how he gets the win, is there any way that he could really raise his stock from this fight?
Are you talking about Moutinho or Suga Sean?
Suga Sean, yeah.
Yeah, I think if he does another viral knockout, that's going to get people, grasp more people's attention and get more people interested. But yeah, in terms of rankings, no, it's probably not going to help too much. But I mean, going out there and taking care of business, it's still always a good thing to do.
Yeah.
When you're favored in a fight and you go out there and win in an impressive fashion, I think that does go to show for something. So if he goes out there, wins dominantly, I think he deserves a better opponent that's either closer towards the rankings or in the rankings. We'll see what they offer next. But at that point, you got to start giving this guy better opponents, especially if he's viciously knocking these guys out. Thomas Almeida viciously knocked this guy out. I'm expecting him to viciously knock Chris Moutinho out. So then after that, I think they got to start saying, okay, this guy's high level. We should start putting him up with other high level guys in the rankings.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see.
Yeah, it's been a little interesting a little bit of his career since he lost to Chito Vera. It looked like he was going to skyrocket up, and then he had a little bit of a road bump. Now he's fighting some lesser guys, but stuff that could still build his stock. It's almost like they're going back to the slow burn of what they do with some of these top prospects. But I hope we're probably going to get a fantastic showing, because anytime Suga's on the card, it's always something interesting and something to talk about. So I'm looking forward to this. And with that, Blake, we have to get into things now, because UFC 264 is a huge, huge card, and there's going to be a lot to talk about. I mean, the early prelims are set with a couple of solid fights between Omar Akhmedov and Brad Tavares. We get a cool fight between Jessica Ai and Jennifer Maia, two people that have lost to Valentina Shevchenko. One was murdered and then brought back, resuscitated on the canvas. The other one actually took her to a lot further than we really thought it would go. The prelims have a huge one. I'm super excited about Carlos Condit and Max Griffin. And then, of course, a crazy fight with Nico Price and Michael Pereira. And then we see Ryan Hall's return to the octagon, so that's going to be exciting. I mean, and then we just got one of the most stacked main cards that we've seen for a while. So the most important part of any week you might have is Blake's Bangers. So Blake, please take it away. Tell us, what fights can we not afford to miss this week?
All right, my 3 fights to look out for this week are Nico Price versus Michelle Pereira on the prelims, second to last fight on the prelims. And then after that, it's going to be Sean O'Malley versus Chris Moutinho, just mainly because I'm expecting a viral knockout. And then for my last selection, I'm going to go Greg Hardy versus Tai Tuivasa, because I think these guys are just going to go in there and keep it all up on the feet, throw down, and someone's going to be getting their lights turned out.
Then, how do you think, like, in any other, what do you think about that early prelim fight between I and Maia? Do you think a win here could get them back within another potential title fight with Shevchenko? Or are they just, I don't know, it's really whoever looks the best at any time, no matter their rankings, if they're looking to get a next fight for Shevchenko here?
I honestly, I think it is kind of whoever's looking the best, especially because you got to keep in mind, like, this is still a kind of new division. You know, like, it was made, 2-3 years ago in 2018, 2017, something like that. So, I mean, I think they're still trying to organically figure out, like, where everyone should be placed. So this fight should help with that.
It should. Definitely something interesting here. I don't know, man. Super excited about this, though. And let's get into it. Main event predictions. One of the biggest trilogies in UFC, in MMA, in combat sports history is going down. So, who do you got in this one? Dustin Poirier or Conor McGregor?
Got Conor McGregor by first round TKO.
Ooh. Can we call that bold? Is that a bit of a take from you?
Call it what you want, but that's what I'm going with.
Ooh, I love that. What gives you the confidence? Like, are you agreeing with GSP how Conor's better in rematches, even though technically he's just meh? Or what do you think's going to change in this fight?
I just think Conor's going to bring more to the table, have a higher sense of urgency, treat Dustin with even more respect, and I think he's going to go out there and execute.
Obviously, he's going to have to check those calf kicks a little bit more, huh?
Yeah, and I think he might be throwing some of his own and, have something special up his sleeve.
Mm-hmm. I'm excited because obviously you give Brett Kavanaugh enough time to like maybe change the game plan. He's one of the better coaches in MMA, so it's going to be really interesting to see what kind of game plan, what they switch up going to this. But with all that being said, I'm going to put my money on the guy that is the best lightweight fighter in the world right now, and that is Dustin Poirier. I think he gets it done again. He's just on a little bit more of a hot streak. Conor's definitely, I wouldn't say he's on the decline, but he's probably seen the prime of his career already, and it looks like Dustin Poirier might be hopping into it. He looked a lot better in their second fight, a lot more composed than they were in the first, and that different weight class might have made a bit of an advantage being 155 instead of 145. Obviously, it's going to be really close in this one, but using knockout, I'll go Dustin Poirier, third round knockout in this one, but I really don't think it goes the distance for either guy.
Fair enough.
Obviously, man. Super huge. And, my belt is going to be on the line this weekend. The fourth long suck my pick title. I'm going for my third consecutive title defense. Obviously, to tie Blake's all-time record of 3 consecutive title defenses. So, he's the man that I got to beat right now and got to hold on to it. I'm going for at least a tie, Blake. But, it's going to be a fun weekend because I'm thinking there's going to be a lot of the fights that we're not going to agree on. Just because a lot of these are so close, you know?
Yep, that's how it should be.
Hey, but, you know, I'm not much of a too trash talky kind of guy. I'm no Conor McGregor when it comes to press conference, so, Blake, I'm going to wish you a little bit of luck, and maybe even Jalen might be able to compete this round, because he's had, one title win? He hasn't had the best of luck when it comes to this. I don't mean to bag the guy when he's not on the show, but you know, it just is what it is, right?
Just speaking facts.
Just speaking facts. But before we cap off this show of UFC Talk 51, how else do we end things besides the Nene of the week? And to be honest, it was a little bit harder to come up with these when there's not a card or when there's not like a whole huge storylines coming out. But for me, it goes to the award for the Nene of the week. The people that got Nene the hardest this week is, I would just say, UFC and MMA fans, because it's been confirmed that there's going to be Stephen A. Smith and Max Kellerman are going to be doing some commentary, looking probably like the pre-fight stuff for UFC 264. And we all know how everyone feels about Stephen A. Smith and Max Kellerman when it comes to their MMA coverage. And it's not great. It's not great. But I do have some hope, Blake. There is some hope, because they should be doing going on team with Michael Bisping. So we all know Michael Bisping is one of the best trash talkers in the game. So I've got my fingers crossed. I'm praying that Stephen A. or Max Kellerman says something stupid, and Bisping's there to clean things up. Wouldn't that be great?
That would be ideal.
Ideal. Oh man, love to see it. Don't love to see Stephen A. and Max Kellerman on here. Real quick, do you share the same opinion as a bunch of MMA fans, or at least especially myself, that these guys shouldn't be anywhere near the sport?
Yeah, they're kind of annoying.
Yeah, that's kind of why I assumed. They're not great, but we'd love to see. Drop a comment. Do you guys like Stephen A., Max Kellerman? Are they as bad as people make them out to be, or are they even worse than what people make them out to be? We'd love to see that. But that's going to do it for us today. Thank you so much for listening to the end. And the group that we shout out, of course, are fantastic. Patreon.com/4thalong. Go get started today. Give a quick shout out to our patrons. A shout out to, for all your card collecting needs, go on over to Instagram and follow at the Big Bat Box. A shout out to Ray Rodriguez for being our stud when it comes to being a fantastic member of our Patreon community. Also, shout out to Ryan Watson and Neil Wiley. But Blake, your thoughts on UFC 264 in one word or phrase?
I hate when you do this to me.
I know. That's why I love doing it to you.
I have no idea. My thoughts are excitement.
Excitement, bland, a little bit. I mean, you've done better, but I can't expect you to be champion level every week. It's all good though, Blake. You think you'd expect this by now, though?
Yeah, I keep forgetting.
That's what happens when you go on vacation, right?
Yep, I just forget everything.
Hey, I don't blame you, man. When you go on vacation, you just gotta let things roll off. But ladies and gentlemen, like I said, thank you so much for listening today. It's always a pleasure, and it's always great to see your support everywhere. And I just really do appreciate everything that you guys do for us. But I really hope you enjoy the hell out of UFC 264, and we'll catch you after the next lightweight contender is announced, because it's probably going to be McGregor or it's going to be Dustin Poirier. Can't wait to see how that fight and how this entire card plays out.